Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tiger Tank 1-2, however you wanna call me, I don't really care. And welcome back to a summer day, or let's say a spring day of 2011, 8 years ago. Imagine a 14-year-old kid who just came back from school, is living in a foreign land, doesn't speak the language yet, but has a very big fascination with armored vehicles, tanks, the military, and history. Now imagine his surprise when he was scurrying through the internet that back in 2011 was a very different place than in 2019. Imagine when he was playing on his HP Pavilion desktop computer from the year 2008 or 7, and he kind of is on a gaming website portal, and there's something about a game called World of Tanks. It just reached its beta status, and it looks amazing. Now imagine this 14-year-old kid going on the website, taking a look at everything, signing in with his account, and starting playing the game immediately. What I didn't know back then was that I would be playing this game 8 years from then on now to this date, and I will be traveling back with nostalgia. This little excerpt of World of Tanks Classic. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's been a long road. This game has had ups and downs, and it certainly looks very different from what it used to look like back then. I have to be honest, this kind of game did shape me a bit as a person. I still have trust issues. No, I'm just kidding. But it was a big part of kind of growing up, and it still is a part of me up to till this date. I've never invested so much in a hobby just like playing football. I've never invested so much time into something like World of Tanks. And there have been good and bad times, but still overall it has been pretty damn cool. So yeah, World of Tanks Classic, it's out. It's here until April 4th, and I've already played a couple of games, and yeah, it has been pretty exciting and interesting to see. But that's also where it ends for me, because those are a lot of good memories, and reliving them sometimes do they do kind of contort the image a little bit. So yeah, the only downside, the only thing I didn't do correctly back then was I should have logged into a server that was not the United States of America, not in North America based, and I didn't. Unfortunately, I logged into the first website I found, and that was North America, and we still can't change servers. I thought 1 year after that, in 2012, I would be able to change servers. Unfortunately, I was not able to do that. So here we are, still playing on NA, having a terrible ping, but today we are playing on EU servers, since these servers are separate from all the other game servers. So before we jump into a match and we talk a little bit about how World of Tanks was like back in the days, we're going to take a little overview in the garage and everything, the menus, and just compare how different this game was back then. Now, the very first thing you'll notice is that the garage looks completely different. This is the garage you had when you had no premium time. If we put in premium time for 24 hours, for example, we're just going to put in premium time for the next 3 days, you get a very nice, clean looking garage that just is, you know, the premium version. And yeah, it never really bothered me. I never had premium. And it didn't really annoy me at all. Then the next thing you see, you only have 5 garage slots. The prices and the credits and all the values are a little bit different, so none of them are how they used to be. You can see right down here that the tech tree, this is another huge change that we had. We only had three nations back then: the USSR, Germany, and the United States of America. I think the other nations that came after that were the French and the British in 2012, respectively. And then they added the Chinese, they added the Japanese, and all the other vehicles, all the other nations afterwards. And we have now, I think, about 11 nations, and that's pretty crazy. There are over 500 or 600 tanks in the game now, and you can see overall the amount of tanks that we have right here. It's quite easy to get through, but still is quite a lot of work even back then. So what you can see, there were only 5 tier 10 tanks, not actually only 4 tier 10 tanks: the E100, the Mouse, the T30, and the IS-7. And yeah, the times were crazy back then. Just like a lot of other players, I first started with the Germans. At least I played a couple of games with the Panzerkampfwagen 2 and the Panzerkampfwagen 3 Ausführung A. But then I shifted my focus over to the American tech tree because I heard that in 2012 they were going to change the heavy tank T34 and the T30 for the M103 and the T110E5, and they would make the T34 a premium variant. So what ended up happening for me was I kind of rolled down this line, and I got the T30 and the T34 just 1 month before they actually changed everything around, and I managed to get all 3 of them. I managed to get the T30 as a tier 9 tank destroyer, I managed to get the T34 as a tier 8 premium, I got the M103, I got the T110E5, and it was all pretty damn nice and dandy. Yeah, you can see like the tanks in here, not a lot of things have changed. Excuse me. A lot of things have changed with the tech tree, but not a lot of things have changed with the way the vehicles look. They're HD, some of them now, some different characteristics. For example, the VK4502P Ausführung B, it used to have, excuse me, it used to have a very weak lower hull that was buffed substantially, and now it's one of the strongest armored tier 9 heavy tanks. Then the KV1 was actually, it was just a KV, and you had the opportunity to upgrade it to a KV2 turret and have the 152mm howitzer and the 107mm tier 7 gun, which was the CIS-6, which was really, really powerful. You were able to actually put that on the vehicle as well, and that had 167mm of penetration and was able to go through tier 8 vehicles and even tier 9s. Now, did I mention that there's like 5 tier difference in this matchup? So if the game decides to let you play M4 E83 E8 Sherman, my favorite tier 6 medium tank back in the days before they added the Cromwell, you were able to face a mouse. And I'm not shitting you. When you had not enough players and the upper tiers were kind of low on vehicles, people just were put into those matchups. Tier 8s, tier 9s, tier 7s, tier 6, tier 5 vehicles just to fill the gaps, and you were ending up a mouse with you were pairing up a mouse with an E3, with an E8, and yeah, those times were pretty fun, especially since premium ammunition, as you can see right here, that is the reason why we're calling them gold shells, because you were only able to buy them with gold coins or with gold in the sense of currency. Now you can see that has also not been changed in the game. It has been changed, yeah, in the live server a long time ago, but it took them, I think, about 1.5 years or 2 years. The game came out of the beta in 2011. I signed in a month or 2 months before, 2 months before the beta ended, so I still got the beta access. And what we can see right here is the Panzerkampfwagen 5-4 Alpha. Actually, this is a Panther hull with a Panzer IV turret, and this was given to the people who actually bought a package when this game came out of the alpha, or in the alpha, and when they actually bought the package in the beta test, and they got this vehicle for free. Same goes for the M6 Mutant, and yeah, I think that is not enough history lesson. Let's just take a look at some of the things that have changed very drastically. The menus are completely different looking. Now, I still remember everything. The tank companies were able to run around with crazy guys. You had the standard battles. You had team training. Team training is probably lit right now. Team training was where people ended up going around just, you know, doing crazy races and stuff. Team training is still around in the game. Tank companies, that was that down there. You had platoons. You were actually only able to invite one other person at the beginning back then. Then they actually increased it to 3 players in a platoon. Yeah, that was very, very long ago. The special battle tab was for clan wars and all that kind of stuff. Then you had the different channels. You could create a channel. I'm not sure if you had voice chat or not. You had the contact list. You know, it looks so freaking shabby. It looks like 2011 all over again. And yeah, you can see like this is the tab, the system channel tab, where you got all your notifications. This is where you got the invitations, and yeah, it's pretty bare bones. The game is pretty bare bones if we look at it. There's not a lot of content in it yet, and it's just the beginning, right? So I'm gonna say, without further ado, let's jump into a battle with the M4A3E8. Now, or just the EZ8. It's a lot easier to pronounce. What you can see, the very first thing you'll notice in this matchup is look at the tier difference. We're playing against tier 8s, right? There's a tier 4 scout with us. Panzer 38 NA. Tier 4. There's 1 unlucky guy on our team and 2 unlucky tier 4s on the opposite team. And what you notice is there are basically no tank destroyers running around, because tank destroyers back then weren't that powerful. And you can just see artillery. There were no limits for artillery. There are 5 artilleries on the enemy team, 4 on our team, and it's basically chaos. The GW Panther used to be a tier 6. Same goes for the SU-14. This is just crazy. Look at that. The T50-2 that was reintroduced into the game, but never really feels the way it used to feel. Yeah, people love that thing. They're running around just to play the T50-2. There actually, some people just download the game to play the T50-2 and artillery, because artillery is just hilarious. You can see there's 1 tier 7 right there, and the rest are just 2 tier 8s. And these 2 tier 8s are gonna have a field day, because you can one-shot basically quite a few things in this matchup right now. And I just think this is like, I'm happy that things changed the way they did change over the course of the last couple of years. Because if you look at this map, we're playing on Westfield, right? This is an old school map. It has seen quite a few changes. Right here you can see that our side actually has no cover to move up from if we want to play the medium tank position. And what you can see right there, because the EZ8 had such a high rate of fire, and still has a high rate of fire, it was one of my favorite medium tanks, because you were able to do quite a lot of damage if you were good enough at aiming. Right there, he just disappears out of our view range. And this is also another part of the game. View range, all that stuff. Sixth Sense, nothing was in here. You had some modifications you were able to use that gave you some kind of insight how far you were able to actually see, and you had the circle and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. And then you had the horrible shots where you basically did 0 damage, but you kind of critically hit the enemy tanks. And look at that. That is 300 damage, a single shot from our artillery piece. And this is another thing that I have completely forgotten about. The physics were not introduced until sometime around 2014. So you were able to just hang down the cliff and basically shoot down at whatever was underneath you. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So as you can see, we are not looking too dandy right now. We've lost our highest tier vehicles except for the T-43, which is also with us over here. That was one of my favorite tier 7 vehicles back in the days. Such a fast tank with a great gun, very competitive. It was basically just a T-34 85 upgraded with a bit more HP, and it was a little bit faster and had a better hitting gun, doing more damage, and that was pretty damn cool. So there's the VK. That was such a bad tier 8 until they actually did change the armor a little bit. We bounced him and we were knocked out by the IS-3. This is the IS-3 of the top upgraded turret. The vehicle does look very different now. But it just is nostalgia when you look at it, how the vehicles looked. The VK2801 was a super powerful vehicle with its 105mm howitzer gun. And you were able to just spam heat shells with that thing, and it just did so much damage. You were able to do like 300 damage to a tier 8, tier 9 vehicle with heat shells. And what you can see right here is that this fellow obviously does remember the times with the heat shells, because he is firing heat right there. Question is if he's going to hit him. Actually, he was just knocked out, so yeah, this game is over, but maybe artillery is going to get another big hit into the enemy team there, because I haven't seen those crazy one-shots yet, but we're maybe going to see one of them. 488 damage for a tier 5 artillery in the Su-8. That actually is no problem. You can do that damage quite easily. There's actually an enemy Su-8 coming in. And he just bit the dust. So as you can see right here, this is the old achievement screen. Not a lot of information about the tanks you were playing, just a lot of text, right? And to be fair, I'm so glad that these times are over, because what you can see right here is experience, credits, repairs. Then what was kind of important for them was base capture, base defense, but not the amount of damage you caused, but who you damaged, who you detected, who you destroyed. They don't show you who you've gotten assistance damage from and all that stuff. And basically, we're missing a lot of these quality of life updates here, and you can just see how different the game was back then. Then right here, the battle heroes, you saw who got a battle hero medal, like Scout for the T-50-2. That's probably on the enemy team. And yeah, that kind of wraps up that game with the E8. Now I'm a bit confused right now, because I'm not kind of here. I'm here to play a couple of games and enjoy the old school World of Tanks experience, but I'm not here to actually grind my way through to any tier 10 vehicle. As you can see, the prices are very different. A couple of games and you're going to be able to unlock the T20, the tier 7 back in the day. This was actually this was released. I remember this patch was released in November or September 2011. And previously to that, there was a tier 7 American medium tank called the... Wait, I have to... Was it a tier 7? Yeah, it was a tier 7, the T-23. Now, the T-23 did make a reappear as a premium tier 7. You were able to unlock that at one time, I think, in a campaign. But back in the days, it used to be a tier 7 or a tier 8. And I think that the Easy 8 was also one of the vehicles that was on the side, because I'm not sure, what was the T-23 again? It was in there, but it was kind of cut out because they thought the T-20, M26 and the M46 was going to make a lot more sense. And I actually researched the T-23 back in the days, and the M26 Pershing was my very first Tier 8 vehicle that I unlocked, and I was so proud of it. But I'm not sure if it was the M26 Pershing that was the very first Tier 8 or the T-23, because I kind of am a little bit confused. It is 8 years ago, and they did take that vehicle out quite early on in the game. So we're going to be playing another match in the Panzerkampfwagen 5-4, the Alpha, and we're going to see how well we're going to be doing in that one. You can see the amounts of artillery is just freaking crazy, and people obviously are aiming to drive the old school KV, drive the old school KV-1S with the 122mm gun, which was able to actually even challenge Tier 8 vehicles. And yeah, you can see all the vehicles that used to be really, really powerful are being driven out again. Is it a surprise that there are not a lot of German tanks? No, certainly not, because the German tanks still up to this day aren't very powerful. You can see that the mini-map was designed a little bit differently. It's not as cleaned up as the new minimap is, but I think it has character, because you can see the different colors. It's the color scheme of the map, and it's very detailed oriented, as if you would be watching down from heaven or whatever down onto this place, and like bird's eye view, and you can basically just distinguish all the different places still, even though it is a bit more cluttered with different stuff. But I think it had character, how they portrayed the maps. It's like a drawing, and it looks pretty damn cool, because if you look at World War II, how the maps were kind of made, like drawings and all that kind of stuff, that really must have taken quite a lot of effort. But unfortunately, don't get the kill. There's a Tier 7 T-43 up here with us. Oh, we're so dead. Oh, we're done for. Are we going to survive it? I doubt it. Oh god. What you can actually see is also when you drive against some kind of rock or whatever, you drive against the mountainside, you kind of get stuck, and that really sucks. Getting stuck in this game basically just took away all your mobility. What ended up happening was you kind of got stuck, and you were unable to drive anywhere from there, and you would just die very quickly. But side scraping, yeah, it still worked, but this was a bit too much of an angle. Yeah, some things still don't change. When you kind of rush into a position very aggressively, your team will not always follow you, and sometimes they're unable to do that since they're all heavy tanks. This was when the M41 still had the long gun back then. I think today it only has this kind of gun, and I'm happy for it, because the M44, no, what was it called again? I just forgot the name. The M41 was a very, very strong artillery. You can just see our artillery, the M7 Priest, just picked up 2 kills. It's a 105mm howitzer, and this was actually one of the artilleries that the Americans really used in the war. M37 they used as well, and the M41, I think I'm not sure if they used the M41, but I'm sure that they used the M12 artillery, or they just called it the self-propelled gun. But I'm pretty damn sure that they didn't use it to accurately destroy armored targets. How would you want to do that with an artillery piece? Pretty much, the spread is way too large. So we're going to get out of this game, and we're going to finish this video before it gets too long. I will try and see if I can get some more experience, and then I'll go down the artillery line of the US tech tree, and I'll see if I can get to the T92, because that would be hilarious to see how the T92 back in the days kind of did perform. It used to be a very, very nasty little guy, and it has changed completely since then. But I still want to show you guys artillery, how it was like then. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, as always, please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.